back in 2007, when things were not going so well in our marriage, I prayed that God would just take over. I was done trying everything, and I just prayed that God would, He created Michael, He could take him. He could just deal with Michael. I wasn't going to deal with Michael anymore. So I just really had got to the end of my rope. And within a few weeks, Michael became sick. He contracted bacterial meningitis because of the diabetes. And he ended up in a coma for 8 days. And he died twice during that time. And they revived him. And he recuperated miraculously. He was in a coma for 8 days with a 0 to 5% chance of living. And God was incredibly merciful and spared Michael's life. And when he came out of the coma, he was a totally different person. His attitude had completely changed towards me, our church, the children. He lost a few things in the whole, what I call the transition. But he came out loving God and still playing the guitar, which was one of his great loves as well. After that time, the whole dynamic in our marriage changed. For our family, our marriage, roles. But Michael and I became closer because sometimes I joke, I'm the brains and he's the brawn. I have physical problems now that I could not do things around the house or in the yard unless Michael were there. And he has a hard time remembering. He lost 10 years of his long-term memory, and his short-term memory is gone. So tomorrow he won't remember your name unless he meets you every day for like 30 days. And we just have the philosophy that we either laugh or we cry. So we choose to laugh and have fun with it and just not get too upset about it. I mean, sure, we have our down times and whatnot, but I say all of this to just show that we had reached a place in our marriage and in our church and everything where we were at an impasse, and God answered my prayer, not necessarily the way I thought He would, but in His way, in His time. And we've been able to witness God's grace and His mercy. I was with some of my friends at Panera, and I ran into Pastor Will. And at the time, we were like Facebook friends. You know, I had known him from years ago. We were never, ever really close. I don't even think he was ever my teacher like some of the people at Hope Chapel. But I knew of him, and I'd gone to high school with Maria. And the last I'd heard, I thought they were pastoring a church in Ohio, and I made a comment about, oh, I guess you're here for your kids' graduation. He was like, no, we moved down here a couple years ago. And I was like, what? And he proceeded to tell me all about this church plant that he came to start. And he was telling me about Hope Chapel. And I was very excited about that. I was like, that sounds great. It was small. And I was like, well, where is Hope Chapel? And he was like, in Greer. And proceeded to find out it was only a mile from my house. So I was like, oh, I've got to go visit this place. It's like right around the corner. This sounds just like, you know, something we want. I want it to be small community. I don't want to travel 15, 20 miles. I don't want to travel to go to church and be plugged into the people that I go to church with. I want to live in the same town with them. And I felt that would minister to both of us. Michael needs more one-on-one, not so much a place where you kind of go in and you may or may not see people that you know. Schedule's changing a lot because you have to do that when you have a larger church. So we visited Hope Chapel. I believe it was the first time in March of 2014, and we joined by November of 2014. And we've been so happy here since then.
I think the first Sunday when we came here, Will was preaching about the importance of the scriptures, and I kind of liked that. And I really liked his preaching, and I got to know a lot of the people here and really enjoyed them. And I realized that if I get into a smaller community of church believers like this, it's going to be so much easier for me to remember their names or, you know, get together with them instead of me just feeling so alone, not knowing who a person is or not remembering their name. So that's the one big thing about coming to Hope, was for me to actually remember people's names And still, I have a hard time remembering people's names too. So, but I just love it here. I just can't say. I mean, that's the best I can say. I just love it here.
We love our life group. We've been in it for about a year now, and it's funny because it almost seems like it takes a year to really get everybody bonded, and we're just sharing and praying and loving the studies that we're doing together and working on doing life together at Hope Chapel and working as a team when we work with children's ministry or in the parking lot or the greeting ministry. That strengthens our bond together as well here at Hope Chapel, and we've enjoyed being held accountable. Before, like I said, we slipped through the cracks. Now, if you're not there, they're like, "We need you. You got to be there," and we like that. We really need that. We need to be needed sometimes, and contribute to bringing others into the kingdom of God.